Good morning. I hope everybody can hear me. I know last week I had a little trouble with the internet, but I think today that problem has been fixed. Turned out that the Ethernet cable that goes from here in my bedroom to the living room where the router is was rat chewed. So I went ahead and I ran a new one. I ran it up through the wall and down into the other room. And guess what? I think it's working now. So if I'm coming through loud and clear and I look good, then let me know. If for some reason it's somewhat delayed or sort of buffering, then that means that I have a computer issue. But hopefully everything is working. So, how's everybody doing? How are the best subscribers on YouTube feeling today? Maybe it's morning where you are, maybe it's afternoon, maybe it's nighttime. You never know. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm glad that I'm here. Um, I only do a live once a week because now some people do it regularly, but you got to remember that some people are retired, so they have the time. Other people, they're making money off the carnivore lifestyle, so they have to go live and have a lot of interviews so they can stimulate interest and generate income. And again, I'm not saying that everyone that tries to make money on the internet is bad. I'm just saying that you can take it excuse me, to the extreme. Sometimes people go out there and they keep promoting some type of diet plan or some type of private club that you have to spend $30 a month to join or some movie they're making or whatever. And, again, it's great to be able to spread the message, but I'll tell you one thing, people eventually get tired of it. And I think what I've experienced in real life, even when somebody wants help, sometimes giving them a little too much advice could be almost as bad as not enough. So, my style over here is very simple. I try to answer any questions that you throw at me if I'm qualified to do so. And if I'm not, I'm sure I can find somebody else, one of my associates, and there are several that are in the carnivore space that have the experience and they have the ability to do these things. So, anyway, now, every YouTube channel has its little thing, stick or whatever you call it. Um, some of them, they're a doctor, so they have that behind them as a way of displaying credentials. And other people, it's just like, well, we're going to have fun. We're going to do things that are fun, maybe have some jokes, whatever. And then you have other people out there, again, everybody has a purpose. And my purpose here is very simple. What I want to do, I just want to share my experience because that's all I can do. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I mean, my degree is in electrical engineering. So if you do have electronics questions, you can ask those too. And on the other hand, I have had to do a lot of things, learn on my own. I can do anything in a home. In fact, yesterday I work during the day moving an office and setting them up with their software. And then a friend of mine called me and he says, "Look, my dryer's broken." So I was over there fixing a gas dryer. So there's a lot of things that I can do, and I'll tell you, it's pretty good. So enough of my blab blab blab. I'm going to look here and see at the comments, and I see that I have some of my best subscribers. Obviously, Jonathan, Carnivore Muscle. He's probably my number one. Got a lot of respect for him, and I've known him, what, 2 years or more now? And I see he even has a question. And that is question, do you often get cuts or bruises from the work you do? And do they take long to heal? That's an excellent question. And that's something that I can answer right now. Yes, I get cut and bruised constantly. In fact, last week I got cut on my hand because I was taking out some trash out of an office, and there was a broken bottle, and it cut my hand. And let me see if I could figure it. It was right about here. You can't really see it. That was about a week ago. Generally, a light cut is going to take anywhere from 3 days to a week to heal, and a deeper cut may take 2 weeks. Believe it or not, I've never been infected, even though I've had, in fact, a couple of months ago, I stepped on a rusty nail and it went deep into my foot. And yet, although it did swell up and it did hurt for a day, it hurt for maybe 4 days, but the hurt was less and less as time went on. And after a couple of weeks, there was, in fact, I haven't looked, but there was a spot that was a little darker, but I think it's completely healed. I don't feel it anymore. So I think out of everybody I know, including the younger guys I work with, I'm the one that heals the fastest. But I think it's because I'm skinny, I have a lot of circulation, eat the carnivore diet, a lot of protein, and I'm sure that my blood sugar is stable. Um, I know somebody else my age that has type 2 diabetes, and he's had some serious foot problems. So that is an indication, obviously, that it's just not something that you want to do. But he won't listen to me like everybody else. Nobody wants to listen to the original carnivore quack, and they still think the carnivore quack he's going to have a heart attack. So nobody wants to listen to me. Okay, let's see who else we have here. We have Sandy Blythe. Hi, Rick. Yes, we have DS111. Duck Chargers in the 21st and a half century. That's from Daffy Duck. If you're old enough, you probably remember that. United Carnivore, greetings from Tampa Bay. Absolutely. Labyrinth. Okay. And who else do we have here? Moorhen, morning all. Yes. And again, William McCartney, one of my premier subscribers here. And we have a little guest. We have Mr. Milton. Somebody had suggested that I should start with a close up of Milton. There he is. You are so cute, you sweet little thing. All right, let's see. So, rat chewed. Sounds like Milton is still. Well, the thing is that this cable has been there for about almost 25 years, and there have been rats here in the past. There were times when there was no cat, but now that I have Milton, I don't think rats are going to be an issue because this little guy, he's an aggressive little thing. He can attack almost anything. All right, let's see. Good morning from Michigan. Juliet's autistic experience. Okay. Just frying up some duck eggs and sausage. Now, see, I like that. I like that way of going. It's delicious. I have completely run out of eggs. When I went to Gordon Foods yesterday to buy some meat, there were 0 eggs, and I haven't had time to go to any other store. So what I may do, I may try the Winn-Dixie or I may try the Fresco y Mas, but eggs are so expensive. Plus, I've been going over to the canal looking for eggs, and the ducks are not laying. I guess with all the predator pressure, they decided not to have ducklings, but they will, I'm sure, in a couple of months or time. So we'll see. And we have Josephine C. Okay. And we also have Quack Jr., Peter Papa Carnivore. And if you're not familiar with who he is, I'm sure you've seen him in the live streams. He doesn't put out YouTube videos, but he does join other live streams. He pops in. He's usually over there working at I think it's a Macy's furniture store. So he has a more commercial background, and you can see him also driving home. But he does participate. He'll probably on Old Guy Carnivore Mitch's live stream if he has one in the afternoon. Now I understand that I am competing with Mitch, the Old Guy Carnivore. His thing is smoking cigars and drinking coffee, which is not carnivore. But you know what? He's almost 80 years old. He's got the right to do whatever he wants. And really, according to me, and according to a lot of people, if you eat more than 70% of your diet as animal foods, then you're carnivore. Now, mine is a little different because carne, meaning meat in Latin, you have to eat at least 70% meat to be on my carnivore diet. If you want to eat the fruit or the other stuff, you have to have 70% meat. Eggs, dairy, and all that do not count as carnivore on my carnivore diet. So whatever eggs you eat, and again, eggs are an excellent source of proteins and other amino acids because inside of an egg is an entire bird. So when you talk about complete foods, there is no more complete food. And if you're one of these vegan wackos that talk about living foods, that is a 100% living food because an egg, when it is exposed to the right amount of heat, will turn into a bird. All right, let's see. Cindy Raddick, good morning, Rick. Long time no see. I was at Chafee's place, I think. Yeah, well, I was also on Chafee's live stream. I was very surprised to see that he had one in the morning, but when I woke up at 7:15. I usually wake up somewhere between 6:30 and 7, but I went to bed last night at about 12:30 because by the time I got back from fixing the dryer and finishing my food, I ate late. I ate around 9. I usually like to eat dinner before 8 o'clock, but it was like 9:30 when I ate it, which is fine. But it's okay. I went to sleep. But the thing is, I can't sleep longer than when the sun comes up. And the sun is usually up somewhere around 7 to 7:30. You start to see it coming up. And even though I have really good Venetian blinds, I just kind of instinctively know when the sun is coming up. So it's just one of those things that I can't do. Tom J. Hi all. Yes. Hello. Let's see who else we have. Boyd Lamb. I see the hand waving. That's good. William McCartney. Hello. Yes. Carnivore Muscle. Nice to see some familiar faces. Too much advice can overwhelm folks. Yes, I agree. If I was, let's see, coaching Rick versus brands with 4 kids, okay, the approach would be different. Yes, as their background is unique. That is correct. And again, if anybody really needs some type of coaching or some type of professional advice, you want to check out Carnivore Muscle Jonathan, because not only does he have the education to back him up, he has a real world experience plus the extreme challenges that he deals with on a daily basis. If this is anyone that you would think would give up, that would be him, but he doesn't, and he keeps on going, and I have a lot of respect for people like that. There's nothing that bothers me more than someone who faces a problem and is unwilling to make a change, and I know a lot of people like that. I know people that have smoked their way into an early grave. I know people that have eaten duck food and ended up waddling and quacking, and even my own parents were almost impossible to convince that increasing their meat intake may be a good thing. And it really bothers me when I think about my dad, because he spent so much time trying to be healthy. Everything about him was health, health, health. The whole grains, the vegetables, the juices, and all that stuff. And here I was just trying to kill myself with a heart attack. And, you know, my dad was 56 when I was graduating high school. And I remember what he was like. He was relatively healthy, but I think that I am much healthier than my dad ever was, because my dad had eye issues. He used to get athlete's foot. He used to get this itching in his skin. He'd always have to kind of rub his back like that because he was itching. And, his skin had a lot of like spots on it, even though he never got skin cancer. And just like me, he worked outside all the time, but his skin had a lot of like freckles and stuff. And I think a lot of that was due to the amount of plant material and the carbohydrates that he was eating. My dad believed that carbohydrates were good for you, and that complex carbohydrates were good and simple carbohydrates were bad. So he didn't use sugar. Although when I was younger, they used brown sugar, which is still sugar. I mean, what is just sugar with molasses poured on it? And it wasn't until I was like in high school biology, I started to learn what carbohydrates actually were. And I got into a few discussions with my dad, but the thing is, there was no internet, there was no research to back it up. So anything that I said was just empty words from a stupid teenager who had a death wish. And that was it. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, hi Jonathan. Rick has horse sense. Yes, something they used to say. That is a good way of putting it. Yes, it is. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, this thing moved over here. Okay, what is going on here? Okay, I'm not a doctor. Even better, yes, a nutritionist. See, which some people don't believe apparently. Well, they should believe it, because Jonathan, you are, and you associate with some of the best carnivores in the YouTube space. I know you're also a moderator on the Bark channel. So Jonathan is a no nonsense, get it done type of carnivore. Got a lot of respect for that. Okay, Labyrinth. Rick, you are my high priest. Can you guide me to a carnival crypto trading car? Well, you know what? I'm still thinking about one day I'd like to have my own carnivore based cryptocurrency, because I don't trust most cryptocurrency because it's become centralized. But I was an early user of Bitcoin like in 2011, 2012. I stopped using it around that time because the price went up so quickly. That was a big mistake. So I'm good at predicting long term trends, but terrible at short term trends. Okay, Jonathan has a question. Rick, if you had let's see, three hopes or intentions for this year in the carnivore space online, what would they be? That's a very good question. Um, three. Well, I can tell you one offhand. I hope that the carnivore space doesn't turn into the vegan space where you have these celebrities out there with a bunch of people following them, sending them money, and turning it into some kind of a grift. That's what I'm against. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't start their own communities or private communities or whatever, but I really don't like that. I don't like it where people sign up for so-called group coaching. If you're going to sign up for coaching, you need to find an individual who's qualified and can do it one-on-one. And that would be ideal for people, especially maybe you have a lot of financial resources, but you don't have a lot of maybe other resources that would work. Belonging to a community, yes, that's okay if you can afford it. But I think trying to push that is kind of a mistake. Now, number two, I would like to see more of the research that the carnivore diet has accumulated. I know that Dr. Sean Baker has several studies behind him, and I know Anthony Chafee has a lot of information. I think that the carnivore doctors and the prominent carnivore people should be posting more research and more real world experiences. Now, we know that people like Dave Mack, who interviews people, and there's several other carnivore YouTubers who are interviewing people that are putting that out there, and that makes a good library of information because I mean, that's even like the guy Adam or whatever Carnivore Today, that was his intention from the beginning was to interview people. That's where he came up with the name. But now he's on the carry team, so who knows? They're traveling around and they're doing their documentary, which again, good for them. They're doing it, but I think they're missing a lot. They're only putting certain people on there, and I think they're actually missing the whole point of the carnivore community. And the third thing that I would like to see in the carnivore space is more people recognizing people like Jonathan. And there are people out there that are neurodivergent that are sort of being neglected by the carnivore community. So we're going to work together and we're going to include everyone because this is a space for success. This is not a space for celebrities and personalities. This is a space for us. This is our space. We created this. I created this. I never I never started the carnivore diet as a way of trying to be famous because believe me, you're not going to get rich in this space. But you may be able to help people and that's great. Okay, hi there. How many bee movements would you estimate you have? I can tell you exactly how many. I have one a day. It's usually around lunchtime. So, and not to be too specific, but the amount is probably about that long and about that wide. So it's not much. I don't produce a lot of waste because I eat a lot of meat, but I do go every single day. I don't go several days without going. So I think it's just because I've done it for so long, my body's adapted to it. Okay. Looking forward to your videos. Yes, me too, Jonathan. Just getting breakfast ready for the kids. Still soft food for William. Okay, excellent. So, yeah, you ought to watch his videos. You're going to be impressed. Thanks for being here. Some of us just need like minded people in the beginning to share and help us through the hard time. Well, that's very true. And the thing is that I'm not one of those celebrity carnivores. I don't have the muscles. I don't have the doctor degree. I'm not an MD. I don't have a bunch of money. I'm not riding around in a Lamborghini. I ride around in a van by the canal and my biggest companion is a little cat. So I'm not the kind of guy that most guys would aspire to be. And but on the other hand, I don't intend and I don't want to be one of those alpha males because I think that those are actually dependent people. They depend on others for their value, and I depend on just trying to find things that work. If I can find something that works and share it with other people, that makes me feel good. That's one of the reasons I do the work that I do. Constantly going out there trying to solve problems. And if I can do that, that's great. Okay. Hi, Rick. Yeah, I see the ducky things there. They're not your cup of tea, says Jonathan. Body composition stuff mostly, but a bit of science is there. Nicely done. I've been doing lots of slow cooked meats recently. Yes, means less time standing in the kitchen. See, and that I'm all about that. I'm about easy cooking. Put it on the pot, walk away, and it's a great way. And the thing is, when you're in the carnivore lifestyle, cooking is 100% part of the lifestyle, unless you're eating raw, which again, you can do, but I don't think it's 100% safe unless you have a good source of meat. Although you can eat raw meat. My cat eats raw meat. He's doing fine. But yes, when you're in the carnivore space, it's no longer, I got to grab something to eat. You look around, you don't think about food until you see food. And that happens to me a lot. If I've eaten, I don't get hungry. But if I go on my bike and I ride along the canal and I see ducks waddling around and big old iguanas, then the hunger starts to come. I go, wouldn't it be nice to have some delicious deep fried duck or iguana? And it's like, okay. And then I go back to the house, I open the refrigerator, I see the rolls of ground beef, I see the steaks, and then that's when the hunger comes in. But other than that, I don't get hungry. All right, hello peeps. All right. Ah, here we go. Thomas Pruitt is here. This is another new carnivore, and you can see he's had some issues, diabetes and blood sugar issues. So yeah, and he likes to also join in some of the lives. And if you notice with me, there seems to be three channels that keep inviting me. Well, actually, there's four now. But we have Jonathan's channel, and we do team up. Love his channel, really great guy. And then you have also the carnivore teacher. You have John, which here in Florida. And then you have, what is it, Nia's Way channel. She'll invite me on there. And then you have um, Dave, was DC or David, who is the one that's, had follicular lymphoma and DC Learning to Live. I think now he calls it Cancer Journey. He changed the name of his channel. His channel seems to be underappreciated, but a lot of good information there. So you'll see me on those channels regularly. And then on the major channels, maybe once you'll see me. I know I've been interviewed by Dr. Chafee. I've been interviewed by Sean Baker. And I was also interviewed Carrie's channel. He never interviewed me directly, but I was on his 24-hour and 12-hour live. Again, I don't think I fit in with their channel very much, but I have been interviewed by Adam Carnivore today. So you'll see interviews of me. And one of my most popular and best interviews was actually with Joey, carnivore guy, carnivore camaraderie. But of course, he left the carnivore community and he's out there selling life insurance. So yeah, whatever. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Jonathan has another question. There is a fake natty bodybuilder in the carnivore space. What do you think I should do, if anything? He has lots of clients and is a bad, bad coach. Well, Jonathan, if you have evidence that he's a fraud, maybe you should make a video, maybe a critique of some of his other videos, because it would be very difficult for a fake liar to be able to dispute that. I mean, other than that, there's not a whole lot you can do. I think some people just love to be misled. I see this in the vegan community. I know there's that one raw vegan character. He just looks like a car salesman to me, and he makes money off of these people. And a lot of people don't understand these celebrities that they're sending money to, they're making money off of them. So it's not like the person is super talented and helping people. He just knows how to market this nonsense. And the thing is, you know, it's easy if you know what you're looking for, you can spot a fake natty. Because the thing is, if you want to get a championship physique, you're not going to get that without chemical enhancement in today's world. Anabolics are just part of the culture. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, because if that's something that you wish to do, that is your right. And I am 100% in support of people who want to use testosterone replacement or other anabolic hormones, especially for older people. I think that older people should actually consider the use of what you would call steroids, because even though it may increase their heart disease risk, they'll be stronger and more independent. And in line with Rick's heart attack diet, having strength and being able to do things is better than living longer. So, but yeah, if somebody's fake in the space, I would expose it. Let's see. Today I did some maintenance on my motorcycle. Soon enough, I'll be a handyman. See, and you can learn this stuff on your own. A lot of times people are afraid to learn, and then they miss out. Sometimes there are talents that you may have that you may not even know you have until you have a chance to try it. It's like I tell everyone, try to learn how to use tools, learn how to operate machinery. There's a lot of things you can do. Maybe you could learn something like electronics. It's not that difficult for some people. Everybody has a natural talent. I think a lot of times they just don't use it. Okay, let's see what else we got here. All right. I just finished my Christmas diamond painting. Oh, okay, an artist. That's good. There's a question for Jonathan. Eggs are ridiculously expensive. Yes, I'm having a hard time even finding them. All right. Good morning. Amazing. Hold on a second. Let me disconnect that phone. Oh boy. All right. They won't bother me anymore. Okay, Milton. It's a little. What a silly cat. Yeah, Milton doesn't like to get out of the way. It's a little tricky. I'm doing this live stream from my bed, and Milton has spread himself out, and I have to kind of climb over him. But yeah, I had a friend calling me. But I try to tell people I'm online in the morning. Please don't disturb me till at least 11 o'clock. Well, what can you do? Anyway, I disconnected the phone. I pulled out the cord, so hopefully no one will bother us from now on. All right, let's see where I'm at. Papa Carnivore, yeah, cooking ribeye. There you go. Good morning, Mama Cracker. Good morning. Let's see. Same way. Okay, there we go. Yeah, good cooking advice. I like that. How would you not know Papa Carnivore? Well, some people don't. Let's see. Slow cook. A lot of cooking advice. That's very good. Or an iguana, says Boyd Lamb. Yes. Iguana is good for cooking. Sounds about right. Okay. Hello. Why don't you let's see. Why you don't count dairy as a carnivore food? Well, the reason I do that, I was trying to go by a specific name, carne, which means meat. So the root word of carnivore is carne. So that's why, this was back when I was in high school. I came up with this idea that carnivore is meat, 70% meat. It's like a cat. Cats like to eat meat. Now, cats do drink milk, of course. And technically, dairy is animal based. But the thing is, if you think about it, dairy actually has a lot of sugar in it. So it has carbohydrates. And that's the reason I don't count it. Now, do I eat dairy? Yes, I do. I am a believer in dairy. And I think for us skinny people or for people that are trying to put on muscle, I think dairy can be a good thing if it doesn't bother you. So that's how I feel about it. Okay, I thank you. Wow, surgery got canceled. Okay, got some conversations here. Let's see. Uh, Danny C. Hi, Rick, Milton, and fellow carnies. Well, hello from Miami. Rick, when will you start your solar initiative? Maybe you can add hydrogen too. Well, when I move, I'm definitely going to put solar panels on my home. As you know, I've already used wood gas, which is basically turning wood waste into energy that you can burn. I also collect seed oils, which I ran in my truck. I'm working on getting my truck going again. My friend, once the engine comes here, I'm going to make some videos on that, on how I check the engine and get it ready to install in my truck. And yeah, hydrogen, I've actually worked with hydrogen before. I was using a hydride to store hydrogen, and then you add water to it and you run your engine. It was a very interesting experiment, although it did sort of fail catastrophically. But I had videos on that, back in 2008, 2009, when people were selling those stupid HHO electrolysis things, which don't work. Maybe I'll do that again one day. All right, what else do we have here? Um, I'll call you Jason Bourne since he was unknown. Okay, that's somebody else. Um, I bought tickets a month ago. Okay, we got some conversation. Papa Carnivore. I do intermittent fasting, 18-6 typically. I've done some OMAD too. I don't get hungry enough to eat 2 or 3 meals a day. That happens naturally based on my hunger signals. Now, Papa Carnivore is going to be 2 years carnivore. Once you become a long term carnivore, now my definition of long term carnivore is 5 years. But after the first couple of years, you're going to change because when you first start out, especially if you're fat and your blood sugar's all messed up, you're not going to have to eat much. If you're overweight, once you start becoming adapted to using fat as energy, I think your body is going to start using its own. It's like a hoarder. I've had to deal with hoarder houses. People that went through the Great Depression, they tend to hoard stuff, and you'll see like their house is full of food they never eat. But your body's like that too, I think. So if you grew up in the Great Depression where you're hungry all the time, You're going to buy and store food when it's on sale. When your body is metabolically messed up, it's going to try to hoard whatever energy it can and store it as fat. So you're going to walk around carrying all this fat and it won't use it because it's going to constantly look for more. As long as it can keep getting more so called food in there, or what I call duck food, it's just going to keep storing fat and storing fat and storing fat. And I see this all the time with people. Even my dad, who ate healthy, he constantly struggled with gaining weight. He would, he'd be like 165 pounds, which was ideal. Then in a week, he'd be 170. Then another week, 175. He gained 5 pounds a week. And he was eating what? Juices and vegetables and whole grains and his, whole wheat bread and whole wheat pita bread and all this seaweed and tofu and nasty crap. And he constantly struggled with gaining weight. And then me, they had a sale on ground beef for 50 cents a pound, 73% lean. I would knock out 4 pounds of that in a meal and then eat lard and bacon and all this high fat, a dozen eggs a day. I mean, we're talking 4,000 to 6,000 calories a day. And guess what? Skinny like this. Oh, that's because you're young. That's because you're 20 something. You just wait until you get to be 40. You just wait until you get to be 50. Well, I'm still waiting. Where's where's the fat? You know, it's pretty solid. I don't really see any fat. I mean, there's no fat anywhere. I got skinny arms, but there's no fat. See, it's all just lean muscle and skin, and that's from eating lots of fat. Because again, my crazy theory was this: if you get a constant source of something, then your body, like you say, you're getting fat all the time. Why would your body create fat? It's very difficult for it to create fat from the fat you eat. And if you eat too much fat, what's going to happen? It's going to go out the other end. Think about it. Fat and water don't mix. Blood is water based. When you eat sugar, that can be absorbed quickly. Then your body has to do something with it. And I didn't know any of the science behind it until like 4 or 5 years ago. But I knew instinctively that's the way it worked for me. But I could never get anybody else to try it. Well, one person, my friend, who was a model and a bodybuilder, he tried the carnivore diet like, earlier. But in 1998, he decided, because he was getting close to 30 years old. No, he was in his 20s. I know that. But yeah, he's kind of close to 30 years old. He started having trouble like putting on fat, but he was eating a lot of the pasta and the rice and all that stuff. And he looked at me. I was like, what, 30 at the time. And he kept seeing me chow down on all this fat and all this meat and all those calories and still skinny as a toothpick with lots of energy. So he said, you know what? I'm going to try it. And guess what? Now, again, he turned into a rather wealthy and kind of prominent person. So he's been sort of private about it. He doesn't want to share because he has a lot of clients. He has clients that are still in the whole plant based space. But if I saw a picture of him a few weeks ago, and I mean, the guy's 50, he looks unbelievably amazing. He looks like he's 30 and he's 50. He's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And he's been on the carnivore diet since 98. But that's it. The next person to go carnivore, well, that was a friend of mine about 3 years, 4 years ago, that had already had heart attacks. He was obese. He was eating duck food up until like maybe 2020, and he went carnivore. It helped, but he didn't survive. But it's like the cancer. You got Jeff DeProsperous over there that had cancer, and he tried. He got a little bit better, but he died anyway. There is a point in time when there is no way to reverse the damage. It's like when your house is so full of termites and it collapses. There's just no way. Even if you start trying to patch it up, it'll still collapse. So the secret is to get it long before you get to that point. And this is what I'm trying to convince people, but people just don't listen to me. I don't have, I guess I don't have the personality. I think I have a good personality, but I just don't have that ability to convince people. And that's one of the things that really frustrates me. That's the reason why I came out in 2022 in August when Joey Schwartz offered to interview me. And I was interviewed 3 times by him. It's a shame he deleted the videos, but I just, it really bothered me. I couldn't even get my own parents to listen to me, you know? And I could see there were times when I'd give my mom or dad carnivore based foods, and you could see the improvement, especially with my dad. My dad became very weak and anemic as he got older, couldn't even stand up on his own. And he was always pretty strong. And I gave him steak, and the next day he felt better. It's like, why don't you see this? Why is it so hard? I don't know. What else can I do? Okay, let's see. What else am I missing here? I'm getting to be like the other people that just keep blabbing away. All right. Let's see. Okay, intermittent fasting. Been carnivore for 18 months. Annabella, yes, I don't eat sugar very often, hardly ever. Well, that's good. Yikes, Milton is growing. Yes, he's growing. He eats raw meat. He finally fell asleep, so that's good. Um, what else do we have here? I'm so stuffed. Annabella. Okay, I fasted every 2 days. Funny thing is, diabetic cells are trying their best to get fat adapted, but can't because the person keeps eating carbs. Well, that's a good point to the unknown. That's very true. How about Donald Duck 3? Well, speaking of duck, this was my favorite toy as a kid. Now, this thing is extremely old. You can see it's chewed. This is the rubber ducky, one of the ones I used as a kid. And I remember this thing being in the bathtub. I love these things. And if you ever watch Sesame Street, you know that Ernie and Bert, was it Ernie, always had that song, Rubber Ducky, you're the one. And I'd sing that and I'd play with my rubber ducky. And I have still a lot of rubber duckies. You can see me sometimes. Well, you don't want to see me in the bathtub, but I'll go in the bathtub with my rubber duckies and I'll sit there. I tell everybody I'm like the oldest kid. I'm the 56-year-old kid because I still act like a kid sometimes and think like one. You can see me out there running after the ducks. I have friends that have grandchildren, and it's quite funny because all the little kids, especially the babies, every time that I smile and I say hi to a baby, they always smile. There's some people out there, the babies go, but they look at me and they smile because I'm such a quack. And I think the kids can see it. Little kids, they're pretty good at spotting that. It's also the same thing with a lot of animals, a lot of like cats and some dogs and stuff like that. They look at me and they look happy. And I don't know what that's all about, but it is kind of interesting. Okay, let's see. We got some more conversations here. Jesus was no vegan. That's right. I mean, think about it. He did make bread, but he also made fish. So that's important. And as you know, like in the Jewish tradition, they did a lot of animal sacrifice. So I don't think that was a vegan culture right there. Although today's Jews, they seem to eat a lot of bread. That seems to be their thing. I remember as a kid, we used to have these Jewish delis. They had there was Wolfie's on Miami Beach and the Rascal Wolfie's Rascal House. Those places were really popular. They had those potato things and all the other crap, but they did have the corned beef and they did have other, they loved beef. They didn't have pork, obviously, but they did have also some seafood. So yes, I don't think there's any real long-term culture that was vegan, you know. I just can't imagine like ancient Rome or Greece or any of those other cultures being vegan because you can't, I mean, that's slave food, basically. I'm sure that the people that had wealth, they were eating meat and enjoying it. It was until really the Middle Ages when they figured out they could feed people this crap and they could still work and reproduce. Although they were shorter and they didn't live as long, they had a lot more disease. I think a lot of the diseases that have happened over history have come from people eating garbage and being overworked. I believe that there is a limit to how much physical work a person can do. And you can see this, with some of the people that um, they do resistance training. Too much training will actually make you weaker and skinnier. But getting the proper amount of training and the proper amount of rest and the proper amount of nutrition, I think makes a difference. And again, for people that are in their 50s like me or older, I think it's a mistake not to take the time. If you don't work physically or if you're retired, I really do believe, and this is in my heart, that you should take up at least resistance training or at the very least walk because I think that movement is very critical. You see a lot of older people, they get swelling in extremities, they get sores and infections because of their blood sugar. And I think that if they were to change to a meat-based diet and move around more, not eat less, move more, eat less duck food and move more. I think that would be a great way to make progress. All right, let's see over here who else we have. Um, you should check out Jensen Frizzlin, a pastor who's really into fasting. Okay, got the religious stuff. I don't listen to pastors anymore. Good. Religion is always a good excuse for scammers. So you have to be careful. And there are three words that always make me doubt somebody. If a person says, well, let's say maybe four words, I am a Christian. When they say that, my guard is up immediately because I know the chance of that person being a scammer is very, very high. If you have a particular religious belief, let's say you are a Christian, you don't need to share that because even the Bible says, by your fruits you will know them. So if a person actually has a good heart and wants to do the right thing, they should just do the action. Faith without works is dead. If you're not doing actions that support what you believe, then you're not no one should even listen to you. I won't listen to anybody like that. And what I hate the most is people that are preachy. You have to do this and you have to do that. And again, you can see this in the carnivore space. You have to go on lion diet, blah blah blah. You know what? You know what lion diet is? Anything that moves, a lion will eat. Anyone that believes that lions only eat ruminant meat is a complete idiot because lions eat pigs. You ever heard of a warthog? They'll eat them. They'll eat anything they can catch and eat. Look at a cat. Look at a regular cat. What does a cat eat? If it moves, it's on the menu. So this is very important to understand. But anyway, but again, if you want to share your beliefs, that's fine. That's okay. But the thing is, make sure that what you preach is what you practice. That's very important. So, and again, don't let someone fool you just because they say that there's something. You might have to get to know the person for a while and see who they associate with and what they do. If you see somebody over there that's driving expensive cars, flying around in private jets, and is on the TV trying to evangelize to you, you know that person is a hypocrite because you know that Jesus did not have any place to live. He didn't have a private jet. If there would have had jets back then, he wouldn't have had one. So again, he was a man of the people. So if you want to preach to others, make sure that you're a man of the people. Now, there's nothing wrong with having money. If you have money, that's great. But you could take that money and you can use it to help other people. To go out there and live in a mansion and drive around in exotic cars, I think that's more of a selfish, materialistic thing. It's like if I had money. Okay, there have been times when I've had money, when I had my business. But you know what I did with the money? I paid my employees more. I spent the money on the business. I didn't spend it on myself. I was still driving around in a 69 Charger and I had a beat up truck that ran on wood. And if I ever did get a lot of money, if I became rich, you know what I would do? I'd move, I'd have a big ranch, and I would probably be trying to reduce the cost of meat. I would be pushing so that poor people, instead of getting fed duck food, they would have the opportunity to have quality meat. Because I think that people that are disadvantaged, they need to have a bit of a help. Now, there's a lot of people out there that put themselves in the hole by drinking and smoking and using drugs. And those people are pretty much beyond help as long as they continue that behavior. But occasionally you get somebody out there that wants to leave that behind. And it's kind of hard to do if you're basically homeless or destitute or you're trying to work to get by to pay for a room that costs you $700 a month. So, if I could do something like that, I would do it. But again, I would only help the people that are making the effort to be helped. I'm not just going to go and give money to people because they're just going to go and blow it on cigarettes or alcohol or some other drugs. But anyway, again, I'm not trying to disparage any of you people out there that are religious because we all are in our own way. But I'm just saying that if you're going to spread this message, make sure that you're not a hypocrite because you will be found. Anyone that's a hypocrite is always going to be exposed. It's just a matter of time. The amazing thing to me is that you've had televangelists out there scamming people with holy water and stuff like that, and they go away for a while, and guess what? They come back. You know, it's like It's like the garbage that you just can't throw it away. It always comes back. But anyway, that's it. Okay, let me get back to the comments here, and it looks like I had 41. I have 40 people now. That's actually pretty good. My live is doing well, and I'm competing with some other lives. I know a lot of you would rather be an old guy carnivore, so you can watch him talk about the news. And again, I'm going to start adding some news to my channel. I'm going to, as soon as I get OBS to work, I'm going to add some images. I'm going to add some graphs. There's a lot of things that I want to cover. But for now, it's just kind of meet and greet. Let's talk to each other. Let me build up an audience. And then as time goes on, we'll make it a little bit longer. All right, let's see what else we got here. Um, Kids love me. Okay, yeah. I had a big red fish when I was a kid. That's interesting. My phone is ringing again. I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Okay. A lot of comments here. Look at that. Thanks for your kind words, Rick. I agree with all 3 points. I recorded a video yesterday, reaction style, and that had the same. Okay, Jonathan, yeah, I agree. I'm gonna look for that. Sometimes my cat wakes me up. That's what DS111 says. Okay. When I visit my mom, I'll cook my carnivore shepherd pie. That sounds delicious. She gets less anxious. See, you can tell people eat carnivore foods, it really helps them. And I just wish that somebody would finally do something. Okay, depend on just trying to find things that work. That makes me feel good. Rick Rodriguez, 20. Yeah, exactly. That's the way I feel. I want things to work. I don't want people to have to go through unnecessary trouble, unnecessary problems. It just absolutely doesn't make sense. But the thing is, you got to remember that the establishment, the people that are parasites, they depend on others suffering. If we're happy and content, we don't need them. And this is what they hate more than anything else. They control, they get wealth by controlling us. It's the same thing whether it's the entertainment industry or whether it's a medicine or any of these things. Get some water here. Anyway, yeah, so that's one of the things that I've noticed. Um, Very important. Let's see. What else do we have here? Hopefully, you'll get a schedule. Okay. Kids love me. I had a baby that didn't want to go back to his mom. See, some people the kids just naturally go to. And I think a lot of times, if you're sincere and you're a good person, the kids usually can see that. It's just like kids hate vegetables. We should listen to them. We shouldn't eat that duck food. Okay. Have a baby in heaven. Oh, that's a shame. Had a miscarriage. That is why you are the happy carnivore Annabella. Okay, see, meat makes you happy. That's good. And let's see. All right. Cindy Braddock, I wouldn't say I'm a scammer, but I am Christian. But Jesus said to share the gospel. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with that 100%. Um, you can benefit people by sharing the truth from the Bible, but you got to remember you're doing it because you want to help. You're not doing it out of selfish um, desire. You're not trying to make money off of it. Anyone that tries to make money, the Bible does say you receive free, you give free. That is very important. And again, if that's what you want to do, or that's what God moves you to do, then you need to do it. But please don't ever fall into the trap that the scammers do, the used car salesman. I have a friend that likes to watch those channel, 45 Christian things. And I look at that and it's like, oh, it's like, it's crazy. There's one guy, I think his name is Joel Osteen. This guy looks like a used car salesman. He goes and he uses emotion. And again, I looked into him. He's got the mansion, the exotic cars, the private jet, and all that stuff. The fact that anyone can follow something like that, there's a church not that far from here that they give out food, and you should see how people are lined up. And I know the pastor of the church drives a beat up Toyota Corolla. So, and he's out there gathering food and giving it away. So, I have a lot of respect for people like that. Those people are a good representative because maybe the information they give in their church isn't accurate, but at least they're trying to help, and I think they have a good heart, and I think that God will bless them for having a good heart at least, and maybe they'll learn the truth and eventually, they'll be used more effectively. So we'll see. But yeah, the scammers, I don't I don't have any respect for them whatsoever. Okay, let's see. We got more comments. Lamb says hi, Rick and all. Hello, another one of my great subscribers here. All right. One time our cat calmly ate a fly that got see. They'll eat anything that moves. I've seen him eat cockroaches. I was so miserable before carnivore. I was telling Thomas, yeah, see, that's why I'm the happy carnivore. Exactly. I once saw a lion eat an ostrich egg. See, the lions will eat anything. They're opportunists. So lion diet is just a definition that people use to make it catchy. It's more catchier than saying ruminant meat only. Now, again, in our modern world, I do believe that ruminant meat is the best because the bacteria are the ones that are converting the plant material into fats that the animal can use. And cows, especially, are very much fat consumers. There's very little available fat in plants, especially grass. There's almost no fat. But when these bacteria break down the grass, and a cow's stomach is somewhat more alkaline than, they have like the multi-chambered stomach with the rumen. Then they have the other stomach that digests, which is a little more like ours. But yeah, these ruminant animals, they tend to be more on the alkaline side. We're not. Our stomach is very acidic. So, and again, I'm not against all plant consumption because I do have a friend that is from a vegetarian vegan background and he has done very well on the meat-based diet. So that's actually pretty good. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay. Yeah, the egg was defined. Yeah, difficult puzzle. Okay, broke it somehow, of course. Sniffing or licking an egg will not open it. Well, that's true, but they learn eventually. Cats are good at that. I've seen house cats eat eggs. As long as we are happy now, that's what Thomas says. That is correct. I had access to ostrich on a farm once. The males are angry. Yeah. Oh, ostriches are large birds too. There was an ostrich farm down here. It's now an apartment complex, but they were quite funny. People would go over to the fence to feed them, and once in a while they'd take their beak and, you know, they're powerful birds and they can be very quick. Let's see. Can you give the simple method for heart attack chicken legs? I did it last week and like chicken again using bacon fat. Yeah, there you go. Heart attack chicken is the easiest thing to cook. You can use, I recommend dark meat always. You can use white meat, but it won't be as good. Remember, protein doesn't really crisp up when you cook it, it tends to dry out. You want to have fatty meat to do heart attack foods. Um, White meat can be used to make the pacemaker pizza, but you're using eggs and cheese to go with it. I've seen recipes even using cottage cheese. One channel that I find really interesting is the Chris Cooking Nashville. It seems to have a lot of people on it. He makes some very interesting stuff. I'm gonna have to try some of that, even though I'm the caveman carnivore because I just heat up the meat and I chew it. You know me, I have no manners. I'll just grab a steak and start chewing on it. You've seen me on some of my lives where I'm eating a steak. It's just a bad habit of mine. I love meat. The problem is it's hard for me to control my appetite when there's meat available. I love meat like you wouldn't believe. It's like people they like donuts. Donuts make me feel sick. I feel like ugh, bread. I hate all that stuff. Anything that's a baked good. So if everybody was like me, all bakeries would go out of business. But then again, all the barbecue places would probably do really well. And even though I do prefer slow cook to barbecue, I love a good barbecue. Let me tell you, there's nothing like it. All right, let's see here. My mom was helping at an ostrich farm. Yeah, they can be fatal. You got that right. They're not as bad as a cassowary, but they're pretty bad. The relics of Saint Bernadette came to Ireland last year. There was some holy water from Lourdes here. I don't know anything about Saint Bernadette. Okay. Well, they have interesting rituals. I'll tell you that. Parish gave me a book called "The Appearance of the Blessed Virgin Mary." Okay, we got some religious talk here. Interesting. And one of the things that I do wish they would teach in school is a little bit more religious history. I know in the schools they waste time with crap like evolution that really can't be proven or disproven. So they might as well add a little bit of religious history because I think if you understood a bit more about where this came from, you might be able to understand culture more. And what I've noticed, people that tend to be largely atheists, they tend to have a system that always breaks down. People that do have a religious background to some extent, they seem to be a better community. And I think because a lot of times they'll have their local church or congregation, and then they can kind of stick together when there's a disaster. So if a person is not religious, they need to find another group they can belong to. So that way they can help each other out. I don't think it's good for people to just be isolated. I think that is a recipe for disaster. Okay, she's dead. Okay. Good night, darlings. I've started to feel really sick. Oh, I hope you have a good day. Well, I'm sorry, Annabella. Love you too. And we'll see you next time. That's fine. Okay. Are regular supermarket eggs okay for consumption? Well, that's a good question. I've been eating supermarket eggs for decades and I'm still here. So in my case, yes. But some people do have allergies to eggs. And if you think about what those poor chickens are fed, it is kind of distressing. One of the principles of my diet has always been not to eat things that are made by exploitation, whether it's plant or animal material. The problem is I don't have a choice where I live. Once I move and I have my own flock, then I'll eat only eggs that I raise myself. But in the meantime, I have to eat the store bought eggs, and I'm not going to spring for the more expensive ones, the pasture raised or whatever, because I really don't know if they are pasture raised. Now, if I had somebody locally that was raising the eggs, I might, if I had the money, I'd buy it. But yeah, the store bought eggs are okay. And I don't think they're going to, unless you have allergies to eggs, and usually it's in the protein of the eggs, which is in the egg white. But yeah, if you're not getting a reaction from it, I would say it's fine. Okay, good night. Good night. Okay, have a good day, Annabella. Yes. Ostrich burgers are so good. That's what Thomas says. I've never had an ostrich burger, but I can imagine, those birds, they can that run around, they can have some pretty delicious dark meat. Okay. The cow's fourth stomach goes down to 2 pH to digest the bacteria. See, so the fourth stomach of the cow is acidic. Not as much as ours, but it's getting there. And yeah, so cows are actually, well, they're not really carnivores, but they're not herbivores. They're not living on plant material. They're eating bacteria. I mean, think about it. A cow lives on bacteria. Bacteria are living things. Is eating bacteria vegan? No, it is not. Now, as you know, I make sauerkraut for my friends and I eat some myself occasionally. When I eat a lot of store bought meats like pork and chicken, I have found that my energy increases when I add sauerkraut to it. When I eat only beef or ruminant meats such as deer, I don't use sauerkraut. I don't eat any plant material whatsoever. So if I get a sale on beef, I can go for weeks and eat nothing but eggs and beef. And that's it. I don't eat anything else. Well, I eat cheese and yogurt as well. Okay. So my diet will be just beef, eggs, cheese, and yogurt. But if I'm running out of beef and I have to survive on pork and chicken, then I will eat sauerkraut. And my sauerkraut is fermented for up to a month. You can always see it on my countertop to the left of my stove. So whenever somebody comes over and they want plant material, I got sauerkraut. If I eat a lot of this lower end meat, I add sauerkraut to it. So I think in some way I'm actually doing the same thing that the cow does. And it doesn't bother me. Now, if I was to eat that cabbage raw, I would get so sick because I've tried it. Raw cabbage gives me horrible gas. I mean, the gas would be enough to clear an elevator in 5 seconds. It's just not good. And I get like stomach, intestinal pains. It makes noises. It goes like, "Rrr," it sounds like water, flowing back and forth, "Rrr, rrr," like the growling sound. Not good. So we don't do raw leaves around here. And I don't believe in eating roots, stems, leaves, or seeds. If you're going to eat leaves, you need to ferment them. But never, ever on my diet, I will never eat a root and I will never eat a stem and I will never eat seeds. Seeds are absolutely no no on this diet. Never eat seeds. The only seed that I can eat is a coconut. And coconuts are basically between a fruit and a seed anyway. So that's okay. When it comes to eating fruit, yes, I will eat fruit if I have nothing else, and I generally only eat fruit. I will never buy fruit in the store. I don't think I bought a fruit in the store since my mom died. She liked apples and she liked pears and all that. I can't stand that stuff. But I did go ahead and eat my own fruits from the yard. Sour oranges sometimes I'll use to marinate tough meats. Sometimes when you get dumpster meat and the meat may be slightly off, You can actually bring it back by soaking it in limes or sour oranges. And I've eaten a lot of dumpster meat over the years. In fact, I just picked up some last week and I ate it, and I've never been sick. So there is something to say about that. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got more comments. This is really, really, really good. Got 34 people now. Okay. Let's see. All right. Rick, let's see. Captain Caveman. Yes, I remember Captain Caveman. Captain Caveman with the stick, yeah, I can remember that. The Bible is the greatest written historic record. That's why they don't teach it. Well, the Bible it does have a lot of history in it, although I think some of it may have been somewhat manipulated to be for that time. But there's a lot of things that they found in archaeology that were mentioned in the Bible they didn't know about, and they discovered it. So it is, again, I think it is one of the oldest collections of writings. The fact that they ignore it is absolutely ridiculous. If you're going to cover history and you don't cover the Bible, then you are not covering history, period. Because the history of civilization is intertwined with that collection of books. So ignoring that is a big mistake. All right, let's see. They want us to worship government. Yes. If you've ever noticed, you look at a place like North Korea or the Soviet Union or even China, what do they always have? They have a picture of the great leader. And that's the whole thing. They want to have some human that they can elevate to a godlike status, because the thing is, human beings have a natural desire to look to something greater than them as a source of inspiration. This is why we have celebrities. They look to these people, they idealize them in certain way that they're not, it doesn't make sense, but it's built into humans. Very, very few of us are what you would call independent or free range humans, where we don't need a leader, you know. And a lot of people that are like that, they can look to God as their leader, as their inspiration, the Holy Spirit, or whatever else they're looking at. They see this as a way of guiding them. And that's a good thing, because then it means that your physical desires are not the only thing that leads you, but you're thinking of a future after you've kicked the bucket, after you've had the heart attack. You're thinking, you know what? I could take advantage of people now. I could get rich. I could do whatever I want. But then what's going to happen when I'm gone? Well, things aren't going to be so great, are they? Some people believe that they're going to be roasting forever. And that's probably a good motivation not to want to be one of the bad guys. So, again, I'm not trying to promote religion, but I'm saying that for many people, it's a great way of keeping people in line. And but it does threaten the existence of government, and that's why all these totalitarian, authoritarian governments ban religion, because it's competition for their nonsense. Okay. Why do you eat cheese? I eat cheese because I like it, and I was always trying to gain weight. To this day, I'd love to gain weight. I only weigh between 190 and 200 pounds, and I'm 6'6". So I enjoy cheese. And I have to admit, when you're having ground beef, there's nothing better than having a little cheese with your ground beef. And on a heart attack burger, it's not complete without 8 slices of hard cheddar cheese. Now, there are two cheeses that I absolutely detest. One of them is Swiss cheese. I can't stand the taste of it, it's awful. And number two is American cheese. That stuff to me is vile, and I just can't eat it. The only way it's edible is when it's on a piece of meat. And I've had it where somebody gave me a burger that had cheese on it and I was too lazy to peel it off. It is edible when it's on meat because it melts on the meat. But by itself, it's horrible. And my mom used to put that in my sandwiches as a kid. I'd take it out, I'd give that to the ducks. Probably not good for them, but I did. But I would eat the bologna or, whatever meat was on there, and I'd give the bread and the cheese to the ducks. Probably one reason I was so skinny in school. I didn't like anything else. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got all kinds of comments. That's really nice. There, okay. Yes, absolutely, and celebrities too. There's not one celebrity that I have a use for, and I'm the same way. If you look in my room, most kids, especially girls, they always had posters of their teen idols. This is my childhood bedroom, and some of this stuff's been here for years. And if you look, what do you see? You see model cars. I have a collection of Matchbox cars. I love cars. And there's my Mopar Car Club license plate from way back. I'm definitely into the car thing. I like equipment, machinery, tools, and all that. I tend to like things that I can use to make things. I have no use for celebrities because I don't see them as any better than me. In fact, the few people that were famous that I actually met, I was kind of disappointed because a lot of them, they're not even that intelligent by the way they speak. They may be, I guess they're well trained to do what they're told, but they're not that smart. They're nobody that I would want to look to. And the thing is, I don't look to any other human. And again, for those of you that are religious, you probably know that the Bible does say that it does not belong to man to direct his own step. So you're better off looking to God than you are looking to another person because people are always going to disappoint you. And even somebody that, you know, somebody that does their best. Let's say that there are people, I know people that they try to do everything to help other people, but one person can only do so much. This is one of the reasons I'm against billionaires because for somebody to have that much resources given to them is just wrong. It means that other people that deserve it are not getting it. And I always say that every multi-billionaire has millions of people that he's taken from because there's no way they either take from by overcharging people for products or services or they just take from everybody through inflation through the Federal Reserve and central banks. So a celebrity to me is a non-issue. That would be like, for example, if I was to meet the president. Some people would be like, wow, I'm getting to meet the president, but I'd be like, it's just another person. I have respect for people. If the president came over here to shake my hand, I would gladly shake his hand. How are you doing? I'd be very respectful. I do respect people in positions of authority. I know when I have to deal with the government here, sometimes it can be frustrating, but I that's just the way that I am. But the thing is, I don't see these people as being any better than me, and I don't. That's just the way that I am. And I don't see myself as better than anybody else. We're all equal. In our own way, we're equal. Even if some people have challenges, some people may be paralyzed, some people are just mentally deficient, but under creator, we're all equal, all human beings. Now, I wouldn't trust somebody with a piece of construction equipment if they were mentally deficient because they'd probably crash into a building or, drive into the canal. So there are certain abilities. I wouldn't trust somebody that's a vegan to cook my food because I know that it would be extremely bad. It would be inedible. But hey, what can you do? All right, let's see what we got here. I love sauerkraut in bacon grease. Well, yeah. The thing about sauerkraut, though, is I never would cook it. If I eat it, I always eat it raw because I think that the bacteria in the sauerkraut, they could probably help with the digestion of some of these commercially processed meats. Um, Diddy is the most revolting celebrity I've ever seen, even before. It's funny. I have a friend that's actually done work at the house that he had down here. And, I can tell you some stories about that. Living in Miami, you have a lot of these celebrities because it seems like this is the one place they all want to go to show off. Miami is a place where we have a lot of poor people, wages are low, and living standards are very low. But in the rich area along the coastline, it's a show off spot. And you'll notice that rich people always like to go in poor areas to show off. And yeah, I don't have a lot of respect for these people, honestly, because to me, if someone is showing off wealth, that means that they're stealing from others and they could be paying other people more or, not taking advantage of their fans as much, but whatever. What are you going to do? All right, let's see. What else do we have here? I used to eat a lot of cheese, but the past few weeks I made as a garnish. Yeah, for some people, especially if you're somebody that comes from a blood sugar issue background, you need to stay away from the cheese because it seems like it just causes problems. So if you're diabetic or whatever, you might as well ditch the dairy at least until you get better because I've seen people gain weight when they start eating cheese. Me, I don't have to worry. I can eat all the cheese I want. I ain't gaining no weight. But if you're one of those people, you need to be very, very careful. Remember, if you're a young person and you're not damaged, you can eat anything. I got a friend, his son, he's what, 19? He has six pack abs, great definition. He looks extremely good. And what does he eat? Pasta, rice, he eats desserts, all this crap. Not much meat. Looks great. But what will he look like at 40, 50? I know somebody like that too. Excellent shape until his mid 20s, and then he just went straight down. The pizza and the pasta and all that stuff got him. So what can you do? All right, let's see. Okay, got some comments here. We won't get too far into Diddy, but he ripped Usher. Oh, these people. I don't know. They are just really weird. I think that the people that are sick in the head are the ones that get the wealth because they're the ones willing to take advantage of others. And I believe that anyone that's wealthy is a bit psychopathic because they're taking advantage of other people. You don't become wealthy by being a kind person. You can become rich by being a good person, but rich in what way? I consider a person to be rich when they have a network of people around them that support them and they have all the necessities they need to live. Like the Bible says, sustenance and covering. If you have that and you don't feel anxious, you're rich. Because think about it. If you're a celebrity or a prominent person, when the economy fails and people are desperate, guess who they're coming for? They're coming for you. You with your exotic car and your expensive home, you're on their target list and you're going to be their dinner because they don't need you. Look at what happens now with the fires in Los Angeles when these celebrities get their house burned down. A lot of people say, good, I don't care. You're not helping the people in North Carolina and Tennessee. What do we care about you? When some prominent executive at a healthcare company gets shot, you don't see too many people crying about that. They're saying, good riddance. We don't care about you because you're taking advantage of us and we know it. But if you're a person that's out there trying to help others, even if you do have a lot of wealth, they're going to say, hey, even a crook like Warren Buffett, you notice hardly anybody wants to get rid of him because he looks like a kind old man. He lives in a regular, well, it's a rich house, but it's a regular house by comparison. He's not showing off and he's getting super rich off of the suffering of other people, but still nobody wants to get rid of him. And he's going to be what, almost 100 years old? There's an example of somebody who does not eat the carnivore diet, does not exercise, and still lives a long time. You could think of somebody else like George Burns. He was a celebrity, he smoked cigars. He lived to 100. And who just died? Well, you have Jimmy Carter. He lived to 100, but he didn't do too well. He struggled with cancer. He's been in bad shape for 10 years. Does anybody want to live like that? But again, nobody wanted to get rid of Jimmy Carter because even though he wasn't that great of a president, he wasn't one of those show off, in your face wealth guys. And he actually did try to help with the Habitat for Humanity. And he was one of the people that I actually met back when he was in Miami in the early 90s, because one of the places that I was working at was nearby where they were building in Liberty City for the for Humanity. So I got to say hi to him, and he seemed like a pretty nice guy. So again, and there's others. Now, I saw another comment here, which is kind of interesting, which I'll get to. Let's see. I had my pooch at a friend's house yesterday. She ate a few pieces of dog food. Ugh, yeah, yeah, that dog food's nasty. I got a friend that feeds his dog that crap, and that thing farts in the car, and it's just really bad. I love wings on occasion with butter and a bit of Parmesan. I used to love Parmesan cheese. It was the only thing that made pasta edible for me. Did you meet Don Johnson in the 80s? No, I did not. I was here when Miami Vice was being filmed, and I do remember back in downtown, back in those days, they had the Miami Grand Prix that used to go downtown. And I remember going there one time and they were filming for Miami Vice. It was over there on Miami Beach. I think it was near where the old Senator Hotel used to be. I remember that. But I saw them from a distance, but I never got to meet him. No. I like Swiss cheese well enough. Okay. Far from my favorite. Yeah. If you like it, you like it. I may be the only person who has never watched an episode of Miami Vice. It was a big deal down here. I was in high school when it was popular. A lot of people watched it. In fact, a lot of kids, they used to imitate Don Johnson. One of the things that he would do, he wore a jacket and then he wore a sleeveless shirt underneath. And I had several friends that had that look. And I thought that was kind of interesting, but I never wore that look. I mean, obviously, nobody wants to see toothpick arms. But yeah, that was a big deal. And the pastel colors and those shoes they used to wear. And yeah, The problem is Miami Vice was generally filmed at this time of the year when the weather was cooler, and therefore, they wouldn't do it in the summer because if they tried to wear those clothes, it'd be so incredibly hot and miserable. It'd be unreal. All right, let's see what else we got here. I like Swiss cheese well enough. Far from my favorite. I saw that. Let me see. Hit the like button, everyone, on your way out of the chat. That's a good idea. Yes, please do, because I like having the likes and maybe it'll get more interest in this chat. Okay, don't need a single celebrity. Yep, that's what I was saying. I just hit the like button now. Why wait? Yeah, there you go. Why wait? It's free. I ate 2 chopped up Costco grass-fed Polish sausages mixed with 5 scrambled eggs. That sounds good. And I'll be able to work all day on that without a break. That's it. See? Are you working today? Will be. Well, if you're in Newport Beach, you must be near where all those fires are taking place. I hope you're safe from it. California is really in a mess. Of course, it's a mess of their own doing. They have all these areas with canyons with brush in it, and they build the houses close together like they're starting to do down here. The wind's blowing. That's a recipe for disaster. You think they would have learned from the San Francisco fire back when they had all those buildings and they had no way to put it out. But a lot of these areas, people tend to concentrate. And that's another interesting thing. I know a lot of people, they read the Bible and they think about the Tower of Babel. People always tend to concentrate together when they have sort of this idea of things that they're going to do. And I think that's one of the problems. In my view of the world, I would like to see people spread out more. That's just the way that I am. I'm not saying that cities are a bad thing, but I think that basically cities should be maybe for younger people that don't have a family and for really old people. I think that a lot of the elderly would actually benefit from living in a city rather than living in a nursing home, because if they lived in a city and maybe you had a combination of younger and older people, you have single younger people and you have single older people, that would be kind of ideal because most older people don't want to cut grass and they don't want to have to maintain a house. But these super high rises are ridiculous. I'm thinking of something like a mid rise, surrounded by some type of open space with activities. That would be good for the elderly. And then, younger people that don't have any kids or responsibilities that are trying to grow their career, maybe they would like to live in an apartment or, maybe something like that. That would be good. And then people that have families, I think that if you're living on a farm, that would be an incentive to have more kids. But if you're living in the city, you don't need a bunch of kids. It actually works against you. And I think that's one of the reasons why the birth rate is down so much, because it's just not, it's not an ideal situation. I wouldn't want to be a kid growing up in a city. That sounds awful. But on the other hand, when you're a young adult, that's a great place to get people together to meet, maybe find a potential mate, and then after a while you decide to move out into the country or somewhere else. I wish that they would bring back some of the smaller towns. There's a lot of smaller towns that are just sort of abandoned, but what can you do? But I think the first step is going to be getting people to eat more meat and get their head clear. Stop falling for all the scams. Stop falling for getting into debt. All these people, they get put into debt to go to college, to get a degree they may or may not use. I went to college, I got my degree in engineering, but I never used it. But I never went into debt because it was on a scholarship. And I did it in an unusual way. I actually took a 2-year AS degree at the college, and at the same time took the classes for the AA, then went on to the university. But when I graduated in 92, there wasn't any work opportunities. I ended up starting a business in 95 because we had Hurricane Andrew in 92, and I ended up doing hurricane cleanup and electrical work. I ended up working for a company that did traffic signals. So I've had some different jobs, but I've never actually used a degree. And it would have been really disappointing if I would have had all that debt. But I don't have any debt. That's the good part about it. So, and I found it as a good experience. And I think anyone that has the opportunity should go to college. Of course, I believe that high school should be modified so that it would be more like college. Then again, I'm extreme. I don't believe the kids should be forced to go to school. I think that mandatory schooling is wrong. I think the kids should be encouraged to go to school, not forced to go to school, because then when you force them to go to school, then you have the kind of bullies and losers that made me frustrated in school. But if you had school that was designed, they had to compete so that the kids would want to go to school, I think that'd be a lot better. Having them sit in a desk all day trying to learn doesn't work for everybody. Having kids being able to do things on their own, I think it would be the way to go. You'd have to have instead of having all those organized classrooms, you'd have to have different labs and different places inside and out where kids could go and explore and see what their talents are. But that's okay. What are we going to do? All right, let's see. Who else do we have? Oh, we got boiled down. Yeah, that and boiled meat broth. I like doing that. Large amounts of cheese in December. Back to lion diet. Well, that's good, Tom. That's good. Okay, my carnivore muscle. My experience with baked goods has been this way. They are taunting, sensory stimulating, but always under deliver when I have consumed them. Animal foods seem to be the only thing that um, I get a slight hit positively, then it tapers off till I'm hungry. And yeah, it does. I get a really good feeling from eating steak and eggs for sure. Let's see. He walks with me. I had a can of tuna and put anchovies on top. It was really good. I mean, some people do the sardine fast and tuna. I always liked tuna. I used to eat it all the time. It's just it became too expensive, so I stopped eating it. If it ever becomes cheap again, I'll eat it. Once in a while, I would go fishing and get it, get some fish, maybe some snapper, grouper, or mackerel, whatever. I love seafood. I mean, it's just another thing that I've eaten quite a bit. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I got a slight hit. Okay. Our birth rate is too low to keep the society as it is in most of the Western world. The problem is they're trying to increase the birth rate by bringing in sort of the cast offs from the rest of the world. That's just going to make the situation worse. If you want the birth rate to go up, there's a very easy way to do it. All you have to do is make people more satisfied. I mean, think about it. I'm single. I've had bad luck with women in general, and I found that the whole idea of a relationship is a recipe for disaster. I know too many people that have been married and divorced and they lose everything. And why would you want to bring kids into a world that is so dysfunctional? It's a world run by central bankers, saddled with debt, failing in every way with declining living standards. Our parents had higher living standards than we do. And yeah, we have this internet and all this great stuff, but people are living in rooms. I know people that are renting rooms. There's houses in my neighborhood that have like 12 people living in it. We didn't have that when I was a kid. Everybody had their own place. If you were poor, you could live at the apartments down the street. They were anywhere from 150 to $300 a month back in the 80s, and that was affordable. There was more apartments on Bird Road. Those were the places where the poor, and it was, who lived there back then? The young and the old. That was it. So you had a lot of teens and 20 somethings that lived there, and you'd see them because they had the souped up cars, they had the muscle cars, they had all that. Some of them had junky cars. Then you had the elderly, and they typically had either a Cadillac or some beat up old car, and they lived there. And the interesting thing is when they lived in those apartments, they actually helped each other. I had a couple of my friends that lived there, and they had an elderly neighbor, and they'd go and buy groceries for them, and they'd share stories. It was kind of a nice place to live. Now, those garbage apartments are $1,500 a month, and you got whole families cramming in there. You got like 5 or 6 brown people living in one of those apartments. And I'm not trying to put down any race. I just call them that because that's what they've done to us. They've taken all the desperate people from all over the world, dumped them into the septic tank of Florida, which is Miami, and now they have to struggle to survive. So anyone in their right mind is going to see that and say, you know what? I don't want to bring any more people in the world. We got too many as it is. And really, that is a lie because I believe that we have more than enough people. We have more people than we actually need. The problem that we have is we have an economy that is dominated by central bankers and billionaires, and they're taking away our living standards. So, what will eventually happen is that once those of us that are older die off, it's going to happen in a large amount, and then there won't be enough to reproduce. Right now, we have more than enough people. But if people are not healthy enough and not happy enough to reproduce, because remember, being unhealthy means you're not fertile. There's a lot of people out there that I know, even that have money, that want to have kids and they can't have kids, probably because they're diabetic or they have some other metabolic disease and they can't have children. So, this is another problem. Really, the only way to fix this is to get people to stop eating duck food. Stop eating duck food. That's the first step. And then try to reduce your stress. Stop being in debt. There's nothing wrong with looking poor if you are poor. I don't feel embarrassed. I am poor and I look poor. I don't mind. I don't care what people think, you know? But the thing is, the ironic thing is, I may not even be that poor because you know how much debt I have? That much. I have zero debt. I've never believed in personal debt. Business debt, I have no problem with. Because the thing is, if people are willing to loan your business money and you can't pay it, you know what you do? You go bankrupt. That's it. You liquidate. No problem. But I am 100% against personal debt. I will never go into debt for anyone. I don't believe it's right. I think personal debt is usury. You're taking advantage of somebody. When you go into debt, you're getting a billionaire a little bit more so they can get that private jet or they can get that exotic car and rub it in your face and buy that property down the street and cause your taxes to rise. That's your doing. But if you never go into debt, you're not supporting the system. Same thing with the central bankers. When you go into debt, you're increasing inflation for all of us. If you refuse to go into debt, then you're not. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I've got a video uploading now where I explain to bodybuilders why they shouldn't pour carbohydrates down their freaking necks. I'm respectful. Well, that sounds like a Bar K statement right there, Jonathan. That's really good. And again, if you're a bodybuilder and you think you need carbohydrates to grow muscle, you just need to look at Jonathan's channel, see what he looks like. I mean, he's far leaner than I am and he's huge. So, there's this is real world. This is not fake. All right, let's see. I don't know anything about Bitcoin. Can you talk about it a bit? Well, you know what? I used to love Bitcoin. I love the idea of cryptocurrency. That's just one of those things that I thought was great because what it is, it's almost like a ledger. It would be like you had a bunch of IOUs. Let's say that you had a friend that you did some work for, and I do this all the time. I do work for my friends, and we write down how many hours I put in, and then every so often he's going to pay me for it. Well, that list, that would be like a blockchain. And the blockchain is basically just it's an algorithm and when you do a transaction, it creates a random, well, not really random, but it's an algorithm driven string of binary digits. It's actually hexadecimal, but we're not going to worry about that. But it's basically binary. And then it updates it. Now, in order for Bitcoin to work, you have to have these nodes or you have to have what I call servers. And every one of them has a copy of this blockchain. And then as the transactions work their way through the system, then you can verify that that transaction actually took place. Now, what's wrong with Bitcoin? There are several things wrong with Bitcoin. First of all, that process takes time. And the thing is that the more transactions take place, the bigger and bigger the blockchain becomes. So if you're going to be hosting one of these servers or being what they call Bitcoin miner, it takes a lot of energy to process that data. And as Bitcoin is used more and more, that just grows and grows and grows. Now, when I was using it, you could create Bitcoin on your computer. Anybody could do it. Then it became more difficult. Then you had to use GPUs to create a system. And now you have multiple walls of GPUs processing this information. The problem with Bitcoin is that the more and more widespread it becomes used, the more and more energy it takes to make it work. And this is a problem. What started as sort of a peer to peer wealth system is now centralized. And I noticed that once Bitcoin hit $100 a Bitcoin and started to rapidly increase, I was out of the space completely because I figured that Wall Street would take it over. And you know how Wall Street is, they're always looking for some type of easy money scam. So if you can get people to buy that this is, well, I mean, it is a limited money supply, yes, and the amount of Bitcoin decreases every year. I've lost 20 of them. Back in 2012, I had a hard drive issue and I lost 20 Bitcoin. 20 times more than 100,000. Yeah, I think about it all the time. But you have to realize that if you were to host the Bitcoin yourself and something went wrong when the blockchain was being updated, you lose everything. That's the problem. So Bitcoin was great when it wasn't that much in dollar value, but now that it's high dollar value, it's basically just a centralized scam. And the thing is this, there's nothing stopping these people from crashing it. All they have to do, I mean, they can ban it, but that doesn't work. Banning Bitcoin isn't going to get rid of it. But the SHA-256 that was used to create this algorithm is not infallible. And it's only a matter of time before quantum computing gets to the point where they can either A, recover lost Bitcoins like mine. Can you imagine if they were able to recover lost Bitcoins? What would that do to the value of the current Bitcoin? It would go down. But that wouldn't be the end of the world. Recovering lost Bitcoins would actually be a good thing in the long run because there'd be more to work with. But eventually they would break that algorithm and then they could have fake Bitcoins put into the system. And then what? Well, if you got counterfeit Bitcoins, what good is your blockchain? And that's it. Once the word got around, the value would. And the thing is, you know how Wall Street is. They would already have just sort of sold it to all the pension funds and suckers out there. So they themselves, they would be benefiting and you would be screwed. So anytime that you have a centralized money scheme, it's always a little guy that gets screwed every single time. Now, I would like to create a cryptocurrency that would be backed by something real, something like eggs or beef, you know. But the thing is, you'd have to have a lot of ranchers and farmers willing to accept it. And then you would have to have an intermediary that would be able to turn that into something useful like fuel. Now, I guess if you had enough people on board, let's say you had people that produced energy and they would pay their workers in that cryptocurrency, they would use that currency to buy meat. The farmer or rancher would be able to sell that, to trade that currency for the meat. It would work. But then the government would be in there looking for their taxes and they would try to crash it. So I don't know. What can you do, right? But anyway, if you are dealing with inflation like I am, I find that one of the best investments has always been a form of energy, whether you're buying batteries or whether you're buying diesel or whether you're buying raw materials like steel, aluminum, copper, whatever. And I do keep a nice little stash of coins because nickels, especially, are worth more in their meta value than they are in their currency value. And again, they could crash the dollar at any time, but it'd be kind of hard to do in this market. All right, let's see. Those bullies and losers all end up leading miserable looking life. You know what? You're right about that. A couple of the bullies that I used to deal with, I saw them later on. It was shocking to see what they became. They seem to be self-destructive. He walks with me. I agree, Rick. School should not be mandatory. Parents and or neighbors can teach them reading, writing, arithmetic. Absolutely. And with the internet today, they can learn. You know what kids should be taught? And this is if I was going to design a school, of course, if I was going to design a school, it would look like something from the 1950s. There'd be windows down the side like there used to be, outdoor. You'd have the same old fashioned lights hanging from the ceiling, the square ceiling tiles with the holes in it, the terrazzo floors, the metal desks, and so on. That's what I would build. Or I'd build like a classic style, like the 1920s or 1910s with the arches and something that looked like almost like an old church. I would start with a building that has a lot of visual stimulation. This crap that they have now with those recessed fluorescent lights, hardly any windows, drywall everywhere, painted, ugly colors, those stupid floors, it's depressing. Absolutely depressing. My school would probably have jalousie windows if I could still get them because you could open them up. And I'd encourage everybody in the wintertime, like this time of the year, windows are open. You go outside. When I was in school, the doors were open to let in air. And then what I would do is encourage them to learn business, farming, money. So, in other words, I would be teaching kids all about the stock market and the bond market from the beginning. I wouldn't be wasting their time learning reading, writing, and arithmetic right off. Yeah, they got to learn math. You got to learn how to add and subtract, but that doesn't take long. You need something you could actually put that into. And then gardening, they need to learn gardening. Absolutely. Carnivore or not, you need to learn gardening. Of course, my school would even have a pasture. That field that the kids run around on, that would double as a pasture. So you might have goats out there, you might have cows out there. They would circulate because I would get with the local farmers and say, "You know what? Bring some of your livestock here." And they would graze out there so they could see what they're dealing with. Yeah, they'd have to scoop up poop, but that's just part of the process. So if I had my way, I'm sure that, you know, the teachers union and all that would have a fit because the other thing I'd like to get rid of is teacher certification. I think that is an absolute waste of time for a job that doesn't pay much. I think there should be a different peer reviewed process where teachers that are good, that have good results, could then watch other teachers and see how they work and train them. I think that teaching should be more of an apprenticeship than a college driven system. Now, I'm not saying that teachers shouldn't go to college because college is important to be able to understand. Think about it. If you go and you want to be a teacher and you get into a peer reviewed program and they say this gal or guy is an idiot. I don't want him. Well, now you're out. So how do you get back in? You got to go to college. You got to get the information you need. But if you're a naturally talented person and you can go online and learn this stuff, and then you're working for other people that are experienced that have guaranteed results. This is the way that manufacturing used to work in the US. They didn't go out there and look for people from a college. They went and they looked among their workers. Who's the best worker here? Who can I promote to a higher position? Who's going to do a good job? And I think that spirit of excellence, the meritocracy, that's what we're missing. You may have a kid that's you think is stupid. He can't learn, he's trying to learn from sitting in a lecture and he can't learn. But then you give him a spade and a shovel and some seeds and you send him out into the garden and next thing you know, he's got the garden going. A month later, the vegetables are coming up, everything looks good. Maybe he knows how to take care of animals. That's a good thing. Or maybe the kid like me, you hand him a box of puzzles, an hour later they're all together. Next thing you know, you hand him an engine or carburetor and he's tinkering around with it and he's fixing it. And I think that's the main thing. As a kid, I hated school because it was boring because I knew you're going to get yelled at. They're going to tell you to sit up straight. And I like to lean back in my chair. Look at me. I'm sitting on my bed like this. I used to like to sit on the floor. Back then, they called it Indian style. We go to the library and sit there and watch a film strip or movie. And today, I think it would be the same thing. Now, again, no one's going to listen to me because I don't have any credentials. I don't have any backing. I have a few good friends, people that know me. That's a good thing. But people like me don't get listened to. And this is the reason why our society is failing because the people that are practical with practical knowledge, they basically are ignored. If you're not a doctor, you don't have any right to give medical advice. If you're not this, you can't do that. You have to go to school to be a nurse. All these things. Okay, fine. But the thing is some people naturally have this talent. So again, what I'm saying is this. We need to have schools. Yes. Because most people don't have the opportunity to learn. But let's say you grew up on a farm. You're going to learn how to take care of animals. You're going to learn agriculture. You're going to learn how to fix equipment. You're going to learn electrical. You're going to learn a lot of things on a farm. If you grow up in a city, you don't have that opportunity. So if you grow up in a city, you're going to have some kind of school. And the thing is, there should be schools that focus on different things. You may have one school that's going to focus on things like literature and classical studies and all that. And some people might want that, and that's fine. But you may have another school that's more of a trade school. It's going to focus on things like welding and fabricating and woodwork and all these other things. And I think that's how you do it. And where do you get the money from? Well, you get it from people that are producing things, people that have factories, people that have farms or whatever. They want to have quality workers. They complain they don't have workers. Well, you can give them tax breaks. You say, you know what? Instead of having to pay this stupid property tax that we're going to waste or pay this stupid income tax, you could take that money and give it to the school of your choice. And then that school can then educate your future workers. You can have all these options. And a lot of times, I mean, there's even people out there that are mentally not all there that may be good for certain jobs. They may be the person that likes to, like, they work in the plant nursery and they like to pull weeds or they like to keep an eye out for insects or whatever. And I think in many ways, this is a path to success. This is how things were good in the 1800s. Think about it. The robber barons eventually took over, but in the beginning, you had people out there. You see stories of industries that were started by people that had no money, none. They fabricated something in their barn or their garage. They got friends to loan them money to buy tools or whatever. They had people to help them. This is the way that things get done. Before the government had its social security and disability and all that, there were charities. Some were good, some were bad. So the thing is, if you're going to forcibly take money from people from the government, then they need to give it back to you. That's obvious. But instead, they're giving it to billionaires printing easy money for them to throw around and buy back their own stock and get rich. That needs to go. The stock market should be like the flea market. It shouldn't be manipulated by a few market makers. It should be open to everybody. And of course, that would mean the end of Wall Street. If I had my way, they'd be gone. All these centralized systems need to go away. That's the only way that we could actually make progress. The medical system is another one. I've had people tell me, Rick, you're crazy. You don't think that doctors should go to medical school. And I don't. I don't think that medical school should be a requirement to be in the medical field. Now, again, same concept as before. It should be a peer reviewed process. People that are proven, that have results, should be able to pick those that they want to associate with them. If they're lacking in some skill or ability, then they need to go to medical school. But the medical school should not be as expensive as it is, especially with today's technology. With today's technology, with the so called AI, there's a lot of things that we can do. We could train people to be medical professionals without 8 years of schooling and all this ridiculous residency with the crazy hours. You got to get up at this time and the shifts and all that. They abuse these medical students. It's completely wrong. So I think that there's other ways of thinking about it. The problem is we have a system that is basically stuck. It's like the legal system. If I had my way, there would be no attorneys. We don't need them. What does an attorney actually do? An attorney basically just looks at previous cases and comes up with some type of brief and then runs it through the system, a system that's run by other attorneys. A lot of times the outcome is not due to merit, it's due to who you know. You may have gone to law school with the judge. So it's a closed loop system, and this is why it takes an unnecessary amount of time and is often unfair. So again, another thing that I would like to see changed. But again, it's not going to happen because every time that you find waste and corruption, that's somebody's income stream. There's always a billionaire or two behind the income stream. So even if everybody in the world would expose the corruption and they would end it, they'd find another way because they have a very powerful ally on their side. And what is that? It's the media and popular culture. At any time, they can use the media. They can feed you a bunch of lies. Most people will believe it. Then they'll say, well, this quack over here is telling me we need to change these things. But if we change them, people are going to be dying right and left. We're going to have, unqualified people. Buildings are going to collapse and all this other stuff. But they don't realize that throughout history, you had people that were competent and people that were incompetent. The only way that my system would work is if everybody was educated or knew somebody that was educated. So, for example, nowadays you have to have a license, you have to have government permission to be a plumber, electrician, or build a home. But you still see things done wrong. You see homes that are built improperly, they catch fire, they blow away, whatever. So, the way it would work would be like this. If I had my way, anybody could be a builder. Right now, you could be a builder. But the thing is, the person who hired you would have to know what's right and wrong. So you would interview that person. Say, I want to build a house. I want to build this many square feet. What kind of materials are you going to use? Make me a set of plans. Or do you have any work that you've already done? And if the person has a reference to say, look, I've built this many buildings, you can take a look at it. You look at it and you go, wow, that's real plaster. That's not drywall. Wow, look at that. That looks good. That foundation looks good. And you look at the quality of the construction and you say, okay, I like this. But you know what quality construction is. So you say, I'm going to hire you to build my house. And he goes there and he gets his guy to write up the plans. They give you the plans. You look at it. This is great. And you pay him for that. He starts building the house and you look around and you see, okay, the foundation is 24 inches. I see, number 8 down there. I see all this stuff. You look at the concrete mix, you look at the color of it. Yeah, that looks like that's pretty good PSI concrete. And you start to see them building it. You say, okay, this is a quality job. But if you're a complete newbie, you don't know anything, you have no idea. They slap together stuff, stack some blocks up, put some drywall on it, slap whatever, put some shingles on it, and that's it. Oh, it looks good. But then to the trained eye, you go, that doesn't look straight. That doesn't look good. And you don't have any hurricane straps? What's the deal with this? And then one day you have a storm and it collapses, But the system that we have now is still corrupt And I see a lot of licensed contractors taking shortcuts, and I'm the guy that has to fix things. So I shake my head. I go, wow, what were they thinking when they did this? Some of these electrical jobs are just scary. I mean, I've seen stuff that I'm surprised the house hasn't burned to the ground. It's amazing. But anyway, that's just my view. Again, no one cares about that. I'm just a quack. Everything I say is ridiculous. It's like the carnivore diet. That's why I call it the heart attack diet. All right. I had one of the cryptocurrencies, banking issue. Yeah, see, I had to get out. That's it. It's super hard to get out when you need to because the cryptocurrency is only as good as what you can get it for. And Polish Mike, hey, I see you've come in. I prefer currency with George Washington printed on it. Hey, at this point, the dollar is probably your best bet, but it's going down. It's 98% less than what it was when they started the Federal Reserve. QQQ, is it possible to reverse hair color from gray to normal on carnivore diet? And how old are you now? Well, I'm going to answer that. I'm 56. That's my natural hair color. Now, I haven't shaved yet, so I've got a few gray hairs in the facial hair, but I really don't have any on my head. Is it possible to reverse it? I don't know. I've had people tell me that they have reversed their gray hair. I don't see how. Um, if you look at the prominent carnivores, you'll see that they do have some gray hair. I mean, obviously, Dr. Sean Baker has some gray hair, and Anthony Chafee has some, not a lot, but some. It's normal. That's just part of aging. I don't know, but I think Peter Papa Carnivore was saying that he reversed some of his gray hair. I think it's an individual thing, but you know what? Do you really want to reverse gray hair? I don't think so. If you're in good shape, if you have a good physical, body, you have some muscle, you're strong, I think gray hair is actually kind of an enhancement. When you see somebody that has gray hair mixed in and they have a great body, I think that actually makes you more attractive, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. There's nothing wrong with gray hair. What's wrong is having a big old gut, being saggy and flabby. And, if your neck is all kind of like a turkey or whatever, I think that's worse than gray hair. Gray hair is actually, I think, makes some people distinctive. And yeah, I don't know, but you have to try it and see. That's all I can say. He, he or she means gray, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's what I figured it was. Polish Mike, the best investment you can do is to get rid of loans as fast as you can afford so you don't owe anything. You got that right. I agree 100%. That's the best way that you can get at least some financial independence, especially in America. Yes. Labyrinth, speaking of carburetors, do you run thermal quads on your chargers? I actually have a thermal quad on my 70 charger, but that engine came out of a New Yorker. I like to have Carter AVS on my chargers, honestly. Some people like the Hollies, like the double pumpers. I don't like the Hollies. That power valve they have in there has a tendency to fail, and I've had much flooding issues with Hollies. But I like the Carter AVS, and actually, I think Edelbrock was making a new version of it. So those are good carburetors for the big blocks. I don't have a Hemi. I basically just have 440 and 383s. So yeah, those are, but their thermal quads are good, but they do warp, so you have to be very careful. Do a vacuum check, and I like to use a stethoscope, listen around the body. If the body is warped, sometimes you can grind it with some sandpaper on a piece of glass, but most of the time you just have to find another one. When I get more orderly here and I'm getting ready to move, I'm going to start bringing out the chargers. I'll show you what I got. That's one of the things I really like is my old cars. Okay, let's see. Um, Beef coin, good idea, Rick. Yes, I think it is. I like the thought of ground beef coin. Again, I think that if I could get enough, like for example, if I had a ranch and I had people that were willing to do some work, I know a lot of times people will work for nothing. That's how Joel Salatin gets his people over there. They work for nothing to learn the trade, but I wouldn't do that to people. I don't feel right about having people work for nothing. So what I would do is say, okay, just like on my farm, if you want to get some work done, you want to help me out, I'm going to pay you in beef coin. It's each beef coin is going to be denominated by a certain amount of meat. So let's say I went 1 pound of ribeye steak is one beef coin. So, that would be what, $9 a pound or whatever in dollars. And anytime you want, you could redeem your beef coin for ribeye steak. That would be a good thing. Or eggs. I could have it as eggs or any of these things. And then that way, if I had other people that were willing to do that, I mean, there's a lot of other people out there that raise animals. They might be willing to participate in the program. And it would be basically like almost like an IOU system, but as long as there were enough of us there that would honor it, it would have value. It wouldn't be a good saving strategy because if one of us died or the farm went out of business, you'd have to go somewhere else. But for short term, it'd be great. So if you're willing, it would be like saying, I'll give you so many pounds of meat if you do this. It's the same thing. It's just putting it in the form. It's sort of like a crypto barter system like that. I think that would be a great system. I'd like to see that happen, but then again, who knows? Okay, certain research as well, like cancer research. Yeah, exactly. That's a failure. He walks with me. I belong in the 1800s. I would love to be in the early 1900s myself, but maybe we can recreate that. Polish Mike says, degree does not necessarily indicate a person is smart. It only indicates a person could afford to enroll and finish a particular program at an institution. That is right. And I can tell you from experience, I used to teach electronics and computer repair and a few other classes at Miami-Dade College. I only had a bachelor's degree. Everybody else had master's or PhD, doctorate degree. I mean, they were no better than me. In fact, my students used to prefer my class because they said they learn more. I tend to be more conversational. I come from a practical background. I learn by doing, and I've been able to teach a lot of students the basics of electronics as well as the basics of digital circuits, and they all did well. In fact, I met some of them out working. They were working for the phone company and they were working for FPL and a couple of other companies. Beckman Coulter used to hire them, and they did very well. So, yeah, just because you have an advanced degree doesn't mean that you're better talented. It just means that you had the money and time and the ability to finish the program. And I've tutored a lot of these people that have been in, undergraduate and even postgraduate courses. And again, many of them are just not as intelligent as you think they would be. They're just good enough to get through. And again, as long as you have the ability to take the time, you have the money, and you have the resources, you can get through. This is why a lot of wealthy people, they get their kids through college. They don't perform any better. The only reason they get good paying jobs is because of nepotism. They install them in the job and then they're guaranteed. I mean, you can see a lot of the political, their children get given jobs that pay a lot of money and they don't even show up. So, that works really well. See my cat sleeping over here. He's moving around. Okay, so what else do we have? Um, we can't eat gold and silver either. Good luck with it when the system collapses. Well, that's true, except the gold and silver, as long as people accept it, it has value. But you're right about that. My hair was falling out up until a few days ago. I stopped using shampoo and my hair stopped falling out. Well, that's good. You see, I tend to wash my hair. I don't use shampoo. I use homemade soap, which is basically made from lard and lye, or a lot of times I'll make it from lard and washing soda, which is sodium carbonate. I've actually had a video on that before. And that's one of the reasons why my hair tends to be greasy because it's always being hit by lard. Excuse me. Seeing a little bit there. Um, let's see. Store bought shampoo is a sham. Store bought shampoo is a detergent. That's all it is. LOL, very true. And it's poo. Yeah, it has the name poo in it, which I always thought was kind of funny. They're always putting things in our products that are deceitful on some level. That's right. Rachel Fitzpatrick. I work as a teacher in Thailand for 5 years. Nobody starting off had my experience, and everyone got on just fine. See? No experience, no education, just learning through paying attention. That's the thing. I believe that people learn on their own. You can't force somebody to learn. I think that when you're a teacher, the most important thing that you do is stimulate interest. If you can stimulate interest in a subject, then the person is going to be wanting to learn. And the thing is, it's like me. I hate working with software code. I hate it so much. I would love to have somebody that I could ask. Let's say I'm trying to write a simple program to, I don't know, access a database. And I get stuck. I get stuck with the syntax of the commands. I can't get the stupid thing to run. It keeps getting the wrong information. If I could ask somebody, hey, what am I doing wrong here? And they would tell me, it would be so much easier, and it'd be a pleasure. It's not like someone like lecturing, well, you have to do this and that. And I know with software, the biggest problem is remembering all the commands. I'm a Linux user. A lot of times, if I want to do something, you have hundreds of commands that I can't remember. And there's a certain syntax. You have to put this, space, this, slash, dash, whatever. And I can't remember all that. I don't use it every day. So if I can ask somebody that uses this every day, it's a good thing. And I think for most of us, having someone that's either an expert or someone who has experience is beneficial. It's like I've said in my videos, if you've ever watched a tree grow from a seed. Now I have a tree outside my window that I planted when I was a kid, and the thing won't turn far enough. But this tree, I can't even reach my arms around it. It's huge. And that tree has been there growing on its own. But that tree is I didn't make it grow. I put it in the ground. The reason it grew is because soil bacteria and fungi coexisted with it. Rainwater, sunlight, and all these things came together. And the living thing that we know as a tree, which was a source of negative entropy, has assembled all these things into a given structure that we call a tree. And I think for most of us as human beings, we're going to be the same way. Now, if you've ever been to the ghetto, the bad neighborhood, you don't see too many people thriving there, do you? You don't see any homes that are outstanding. Maybe you see once in a while, but if you had a home that was fixed up, it would be a target and it would eventually be run down. Of course, most of these people rent anyway, so they're not going to do anything. So you'll see the area has that look of ugliness. But then you go to a wealthy area and it's like a competition to see who can make their home showier than the others. Or like in my neighborhood, this is a sort of a middle class area. They're constantly doing things to their homes. My home, of course, looks like the Adams family. People go by and da 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 da. They expect a hand to come out of the mailbox. Sometimes they'll walk on the other side of the street. But what it is, when you're an individual person, you have to have the right connections. You have to be with the right people. You have to have the ability to associate, the ability to exchange information, and the ability to share. If you don't have that, you will fail. And you can go around here, you can look, you'll see there's homeless people living in the park. And the county is always trying to find out where they are and chase them out because they don't want anybody to see them. They were living under the bridge. They chased them out. They lived in an empty lot by the road. They bulldozed that to get them out. They live behind shopping centers. They chase them out. But the thing is, you say, well, why are they homeless? The reason they're homeless, well, it can be many different things. One, obviously, is mental illness. Some people are mentally ill, and nobody wants to be around people like that are acting out, doing crazy things, breaking things, whatever. Many of them get into substance abuse. That's just the other thing. So they have no support system. Even their own family doesn't want anything to do with them, even if they exist, because they're nothing but trouble. Cutting them off and letting them leave is the best thing that can happen to your family. When you have people that are troublemakers, there are just some people that are bad apples. You have to cut them off. This is true even with friends. You have people that are constantly trying to drag you down. It's just a constant drain. And it's the same thing with these neighborhoods. When you have people that are dysfunctional, you're not going to be able to thrive. If you're in a family that's dysfunctional, it's going to work against you. And what if you're destroying yourself? If you're constantly eating duck food, you're eating crap, you're surviving at best, and you're trying to work with that, you're isolating yourself. You're not tapping into the real potential around you. You're eating crap, you're associating with crap, you're watching crap, you're listening to crap. You're going to be crap, period. That's the other thing. The so called music that people listen to is pretty bad in some areas. That works against you as well. It's better to go out into nature. Don't play any music. Don't walk around with headphones in your head all the time. Go outside, experience the real world, see what you're dealing with. And if the real world around you is not helping you, let's say you live in an area that's bad, it might be a good idea to think about moving. Go somewhere else. Maybe get in your car, travel somewhere. See if you can find a place that you feel more at home. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's not that bad here. I have a buffer zone. It's just like if I go to downtown Miami, like especially Brickell Avenue, That place gives me a really bad feeling. I actually feel sick. Those large buildings, and there's a strange noise that's all around. I think it's from all the air conditioners and the traffic and everything. I feel depressed. I really do feel discouraged and depressed. But on the other hand, if I drive out to the Everglades, which is nothing but a swamp full of insects and predators and stuff like that, I feel pretty good. I don't mind being out there. And in my neighborhood, when I walk around the neighborhood, I can feel the ups and downs and emotions. When I go over to where the apartment building is, I feel a little bit down. When I go along the canal, I feel a little elevated because I see the ducks and the iguanas and the open space. I go to the park, it's the same thing. So I think it's really important that you understand, and you really do need to understand that you are a product of your environment. And your environment includes the people that you associate with, it includes the entertainment. Even the Bible says bad associations spoil useful habits. If you associate around people that are not ideal, they're going to bring you down with them. You may lift them up a little bit, they're going to bring you down farther than you can lift them up. So be careful. Don't let them tell you what to do. Okay, let's see what else. Um, I work to teach. Okay. Polish Mike says, I never liked programming. That's why I chose hardware path. Yes. I like to see and sometimes smell when stuff does not work. That's when the smoke comes out. I'm RF amplifier engineer at Motorola. There you go. We make portable radios for public safety. Wow, I didn't know they still did any manufacturing in the US. I figured it was all design, but that's good to know. I have a lot of those old Motorola radios. I have a collection of them. They were very popular with the police and fire department. Some good quality work back then. I may even have one laying around here somewhere. But yeah, those VHF radios were really popular. William McCartney, 1313 Mockingbird Lane, or what was, oh, yeah, I think that was the Munsters. I don't remember, but I know it was 1313, one of them. I don't even know if they had an address for the Adams family. But I always thought as a kid that the Adams family was the coolest family in the neighborhood because they were the richest, I think, in the neighborhood. And they were always giving stuff away. The thing is that what they considered garbage, everybody else liked, like the antiques and stuff. And the stuff that they really liked, which was the scary stuff, they'd give it away. People would freak out. So, I'm not quite as bad. I do like to give stuff away. I give the duck food to the ducks. And a lot of new stuff that I get, like if I'm doing a clean out, if it's good, I'll give it to my friends. I've given away clothes and I've given away furniture and stuff like that. I love giving stuff away that I can't use. So it really is kind of nice. And we humans are basically designed to want to give stuff away. That's why it's important for us to be able to have excess. If we can get excess in a way that's responsible, and we can give it to other people we know, that really helps build relationships. I think that's really important. Okay. Let's see. Ha ha ha. And I like the smell when doing soldering. Oh, better than the smell of duck food. Well, duck food is nasty. I agree 100%. I see retired Rick is here. Hey, it's nice to have another Rick here. Hey, Charger Mopar, Rick, hello, hello, hello. Boyd Lamb R. Let's see, what is this? GMSR. Okay, I'm not familiar with that term, but hey. Labyrinth says, have you ever seen the movie Dinner with Andre? No, I haven't. Check it out. Mirrors a lot of what you're saying about society and nature. I have to admit, I haven't actually been to a movie theater since like 1984. The last movie I ever watched was a movie called Moving Violations, which had the Where's the Beef Lady in it, and it had it had a Robert Conrad. I used to love to watch his show, The Wild Wild West. I love that show. Miguelito, the villain, and what was it, Manzepi, the fat guy. Oh, there were some good characters on that one. All those gadgets, like 1800s James Bond kind of tech. That's why I get called it James West. But yeah, I have to look at that. I really haven't seen it. But yeah, I have a unique view, and I think that's one of the reasons why the first video I did on Joey Schwartz channel had so many views, because people were commenting that they liked my attitude, they liked my style, and all that. And I think that was good. But now a lot of the carnivore celebrities have come out, and they have their sort of hard hitting videos with graphics and all their carnivore clubs and, steak and butter gang and all this other stuff. And yeah, whatever. Okay. You got Lily Kane, who I don't think is carnivore anymore. You get people that are young, usually pretty gals out there, and they start promoting the carnivore diet, and they get a lot of attention. People they want to be like that. So I guess you get the pretty gals, you get the muscle guys, and they're usually out there. As long as you're smooth talking enough to convince people, they'll follow you, and then they'll sign up for your program or whatever. Memberships. I'm very much against group memberships. That's just one of the things you'll never see that on my channel. I don't even do super chats because I really don't see the point of it. I think it's kind of this is sort of my way of giving back. I don't have money at the point that I could give people. I don't have, other resources, but I do have my time, although that's a little bit limited. I'm glad to give that back just so that people can get a little bit of a view of how I live and what I do. And I think in many ways that's probably more valuable because a lot of people do have that ability. They can make money, but a lot of times the decisions they make with it may not be that good. So maybe a little guidance from us can help. All right, let's see. Okay. Have you ever seen okay. Do you have a TV? I have several TVs. See, I have one over here. I have a 60-inch TV in my living room, but the thing is I don't really watch TV. I use the TVs as monitors when I'm online. The last time that I really watched TV was probably 2010. There was a couple of shows. I had a friend of mine that was watching this show called Lost, and I watched this thing on and off. It was kind of stupid, but I don't really care about that anymore. I just don't understand. At the end, the ending was kind of weird, so it didn't make sense. But yeah, after that, I just didn't watch TV anymore. I found that watching TV shows was kind of stressful. You're trying to make time to watch it, and they're kind of discouraging. People are always having problems. They get killed. It's just depressing. TV is just not something that I find interesting. There's no good comedies anymore. So I don't do that. I take my time and I watch YouTubers and the way it works is like this. The more I interact with the YouTuber, the more of their videos I watch. When they stop interacting with me, I stop watching them because usually what that means they have so many subscribers that they just don't have time for me anymore. And that's fine. You don't have time for me? Go ahead and associate with the people you do have time for. I'm not going to watch your videos anymore. But occasionally, I'll check out some of the more popular channels. There are channels out there that I belong to that have more than 100K subscribers. And sometimes they'll mention me or they'll say hi or whatever, and then I'll watch their videos. But it's like an up and down thing. There's only so many hours in the day. I'm usually working anyway. I just listen to this stuff and then I try to comment when I can. So if you see me associating on a YouTube channel, you know that I'm definitely watching their videos. But when you see the more popular ones, I usually fade away. I don't comment much. So that's fine. But anyway, okay, there's a dude on YouTube that does GSMR, General Mobile Series Radio. Oh, there's a carnivore. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I didn't know that. But yeah, the GMRS was very popular. They had plumbers and electricians and all that were using it. But once the cell phone came out, they don't really have a need for it. I guess they don't need to license that spectrum anymore. It's just less money they have to spend. Okay, William McCartney. Last movie I watched was The Crying Game. I was scared, had to quit. Oh, interesting. Polish Mike. I only listen in from now on. I'm about to do so. Car work with my dad will replace some filters so we don't pay hundreds. Yeah, exactly. Do your own oil changes and stuff. That's good. Jonathan says, my life is complicated, challenging enough to have a moment to watch reality TV. Oh, come on. You don't have to watch reality TV when you live it yourself. That's true. And I never understood the appeal of reality TV. These stupid shows like, um, what was it? What was that one they had in the early 2000s? Survivor, I think it was called. That's just a rig. That's not a real Survivor. And then you have that Big Brother, whatever crap, a bunch of 20 somethings over there mating and doing their thing. Yeah, whatever. That's boring as well. I just don't see the point of it. Okay. Sorry, dyslexic this morning. That's fine. I got a good friend that's dyslexic. Sometimes when he's trying to explain like letters, like we're doing a serial number on a piece of equipment, and he gets the letters mixed up. I tell him, just take a picture of it and send it to me. I'll look at it myself. But that's okay. He's very intelligent anyway. It's kind of interesting that people that do have these disorders, they manage to work around it. And they're actually some of the most savvy people I know. I know a couple people are dyslexic, and they're probably the most street savvy people you've ever seen. They always seem to be able to get things done. So anyway, it looks like I've caught up with the comments, and it's been over 2 hours. The last time I was here, like 2.5 hours. I think that was a little extreme, but I'm here for you. So if you have any more comments, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I'll be wrapping this up pretty soon. Saturday is my day off. I'm gonna try to do some tree trimming. And you know me, I'm a kind of a redneck in a way. So I'm not going to use a ladder to trim some of the lower branches. I bet one of you can guess what I'm going to stand on to be able to trim some of these branches. All right. Lambs, Avoid Lamb. Do you have the name of the DSR? Yeah, that's a good idea. If you have the name of that channel, put it on here so that we can look it up. I'll try to check it out when I get a chance. But yeah, if anyone has an idea of what I'm going to be standing on when I try to cut some of these banana leaves and tree branches and stuff like that, you can let me know. I'm sure somebody will figure it out. It's not a ladder, let's put it that way. Ladders are a little unstable. This is a lot more stable and it has a better surface I can stand on. I did make a video once about harvesting bananas. Polish Mike says engine. Well, there's an engine in it, but you know, it's about 6 feet off the ground. That'll be enough to no, it's not the van because the van won't get in the tight spots. Is it on your truck? No, it's not my truck. It has to be narrow enough, 6 feet. Yes, Bobcat. See, Paul McGruin. It's the Bobcat. The Bobcat is the only thing I have. It's about 5 feet wide. It's wide enough, just wide enough like the sidewalk, and it can turn in no space at all. So I can get around in there in my yard and be able to get right next to the tree. If I was to use the van, well, first of all, the roof is a little thin. I would dent it, even though I'm skinny. I would definitely dent the van, and it's just too big. The thing is like, 20 something feet long. It's huge. Have you done the tire swaps on your van? Yes, I have. I actually made a video. In fact, I forgot to upload the video when I went to Gordon Foods yesterday. Yesterday, I worked till about 2 o'clock. I came home. I was going to relax and upload videos, and then my friend called me with a broken dryer. So, yeah, it went from a day of relaxation to a day of work. And I've had a couple of phone calls since I've been here. So, it's possible that once I get off this stream and I hit the phone, it's going to be, I'll be working somewhere else. But I'm gonna have to take a day off. This is ridiculous. I have to have at least one day off to do my own stuff. Morning, Booby Goats. Oh, you're here. Excellent. Have fun and be safe with the tree trimming. Okay, yeah, that's right. It's the charger. No, not the charger. Charger's in the side yard. And thanks. Okay. Well, that's good. So we have 35 right now. That's actually not bad. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be like the old guy carnivore that gets, 100 and something. Well, at least not for now. Maybe when I start adding the news items and the research and all that, I may get more, which is fine. I'm going to try to reserve this Saturday morning time because this seems to be the best time. I'm only competing with a couple of live streams. Actually, I was surprised that Dr. Chafee put his live stream just before mine. I didn't even know that. So that might even help to get more interest. So anyway, let's see. Ah, he walks with us. I drive a four-stroke scooter, economical on gas. Have you ever had a moped or a scooter? I had a moped when I was younger, but riding on the street is a little scary for me. So I normally use a bicycle. That way I can ride on the sidewalk and take shortcuts through the park. And that works really well. Okay. If you can afford the beef tenderloin, there's the cheapest. Yeah, GFS Gordon Food Service. I was at GFS yesterday. I bought the ground meat. I didn't buy the tenderloin, but I saw it there and it was a good price. Gordon Foods also had the best prices on eggs, but they have had no eggs for about 2 or 3 weeks. So I don't know what's going on there. But if you have a Gordon Foods in your area, I wish they'd sponsor my channel, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, try them out because they do have deals on meat. They also have lard. If you don't mind the hydrogenated lard, which I try to avoid, you can buy that cheaper than anybody else. I think it's better than seed oils. So if you're transitioning from seed oils and you want something a little better, you could buy their Butcher Boy lard. It's a 50-pound box. I think it's like $50. So that's the cheapest you're going to get on lard. But yeah, Gordon Foods definitely has some good stuff. Okay. So we still have 35. Do we have any more questions? I know all of you have a day that you would like to enjoy. So do I. All right, that's good. Hopefully, the audio was good today and the video was good. Hopefully, the new Ethernet cable fixed the problems I was having last week. So I didn't see any complaints. So I guess everything is fine. All right. Well, that's great. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this live stream. And again, it's looks like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I'm very grateful that you were here. And if you haven't clicked like already, I see I have 34 likes. I have 36 people. So, there may be a couple that had forgot to click it, or maybe the ones that left didn't click it, but that's actually pretty good. And as I tell everybody, I have the best subscribers of any YouTube channel because I don't have the most, but I have the best. And I hope that eventually I'll get to meet most of you in person over time. That's what I'd like to see. Maybe one day I'll be one of those wealthy carnivore guys that has a large ranch. Hopefully, if I could do it somewhere here in Florida, that'd be nice, but I could go somewhere else. And then I'll just have sort of a guest house and I'll invite people to come on down to the ranch, sort of like what Barkay does with his, except with mine, you don't have to work for free and you'll get some beef or whatever. You could pay for it. I don't know. It's up to you. But at least you'd get to hang out. Hopefully, my cat will still be around by then, or I'll have some other pets. I may have some pet ducks. You can bring your kids and feed the ducks or whatever. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And again, keep on eating the carnivore diet, keep living a natural lifestyle, live as long as you can. Don't worry about how long you're going to live, worry about how good you're going to live. Make sure you're feeling good, make sure you're strong and healthy. And again, I look forward to seeing you and thank you for being here. And we're going to end it now.